So the whole world is talking about the passing of Queen Elizabeth and the beginnings of King Charles' reign. Again, it does not just flow off the tongue yet. We asked our audience on social media, how are you feeling about Charles as king? Yay or nay? And guess what? 71% of you said nay. So are we surprised by these results? What do you guys think?
No, not at all.
No one's surprised.
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, think about it. We all watched as we fell in love with Princess Diana and then watched the demise of that relationship and her very public commentary around his extracurricular love affair with Camilla. And I think there was an insinuation at that time, like, how fit is this person to lead? I'm not saying he can't turn
he had an okay mentor. I'll say that.
Right? Yeah. I'm not surprised that people are not feeling this transition. Also, I mean, the thing is we were talking about this yesterday. It's a man. I'm just gonna say, like, it was nice at least. No, I have very.
It's true. We had a woman
at least
on our
a
money.
woman. For a long time, and we're not going to see that now in our lifetime. We'll never not see a woman in that role.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You know what's interesting to me is I wonder how much people, when began this discussion in the last segment, and how complex the history and legacy is of, and I say this, the British monarchy, but there's a separation technically between what is Britain and what is the monarchy, and who was responsible for what when it came to the worst of colonialism. I don't know the answer to that because I'm not a historian, but I wonder if there was some overlooking of that because people grew to love Elizabeth because she was so young when she started as the queen. Hers was the first coronation that was ever televised, and people grew to love her. We didn't know who she was. She was a young woman, and this generations have grown with her. No offense, but Charles is 73, and we've kind of seen all that he has, because he's out there. So there's not the same affinity.
And I also think going on what you just said, there's not the same mystery. If you think about Queen Elizabeth, how much do we actually know about her? Very little. We don't know her political opinions. We don't know a lot by design. We're not supposed to know about her, but the next generation, it's a little different. Athea, what do you think about this?
That's so true, isn't it? And it's kind of the mystique of the Queen. We kind of made up half of what we think about her. Everybody has their opinion. But, we don't know her. She doesn't give interviews because she didn't see the point. She even said that. I don't see the point in giving interviews, so I'm just not going to give any. She was famous for not really giving her opinions. But if someone, did something, she would say things like, do you think you should be doing it that way? Are you sure that sounds like a good idea? And we love that kind of mystique about her, didn't we? But like you said with Prince Charles, we know everything and it's not all good, And it's a bit like, is this the person that we want to be king? Unfortunately, he is king, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, he now is King Charles III. And you're right in saying that we know a lot, perhaps too much. There was some headlines back in the 90s, the Charles and Camilla tapes. I haven't forgotten.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, there were some very clever tweets about this will be the first king ever who has admitted about... Anyway, I won't get into it.
I know where you're going.
We all know where you're going.
Wow, history made.
It's true. But going back to history, I don't know if you've seen this on your feeds, but, alluding to the complexity and the pain of the history of the monarchy and or Britain, whichever way you choose to look at it, I also find that that's a generational divide. Like, my family chat is very clearly divided. You have an older generation that has a lot of reverence and affection for the Queen. And, when you were discussing BIPOC communities, and I've been trying to read and keep my mouth shut and listen and learn as much as possible. And one way I'm doing that is going to alternative news outlets like APTN, which of course is for, by and for Indigenous peoples. And there's a very clear divide, even within Indigenous communities, for example, that, our very own Governor General, who is the first Inuit Governor General, by the way, who has a lot of reverence and affection for the Queen. And you have, the chief, for example, of the James Smith Cree Nation, which sadly has just experienced a horrible tragedy, who said she actually sent us a message of the Queen just days before she died.
But there are also people who are connecting the dots between that murder spree and the legacy of trauma and the impact that colonialism has had.
Right. That the younger generation in that same Cree Nation says, can I quote something?
Yes.
Because they don't mince words, and I'll quote. Ryan Buffalo, he's a citizen of the Samson Cree Nation, and he writes, I can't feel that much sympathy for her because she's a rich old white lady and there's so much history here that involves Indigenous trauma. I am thinking about our international agreements and how her death is going to affect them. In Canada, we have difficulty enforcing the agreements at the different levels of government, and goes on to say this. So you can see that there's a generational divide here, which is going to fall on King Charles's lap. And is he equipped to do that? And that will be the big test.
Afia, do you think he is?
He's going to have to be, right? And the problem is as well is that, this is going to sound really crude, but let me land. The people who have that real affinity with the Queen are getting older and are not going to be around for much longer, right? And so you are going to be left with this generation of people who just don't buy into this grandmother of the nation, grandfather of the nation figure that they've created for themselves. So how is Prince Charles going to square that circle? It's going to be a difficult thing for him to do, because he is going to have to reach across these divides. He is going to have to bring in the younger generation. And you know, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry was the way to do that. Opportunity missed. Yeah. Yes, you do have Kate and William, but they're just so boring that they don't really seem to engage anyone. I said what I said.
Thrilling. We let you land, and we are thrilled by it. Can I just add something very quickly? Like, just talking about the younger generation and the idea of a modern monarchy. Think about those two words. Modern monarchy. Has there ever been a greater oxymoron in the history of ever?
Yeah,
and I think young people sniff that out, like, modern monarchy? Slow down. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
anyway.
Hey there, wasn't that great? Do you know where you can find some equally good content? Our YouTube page. It's filled with discussions, debates, and some laughs. Head there now, like and subscribe.